Hope you can all hear me well. So a very good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the European Policy Center and to this policy briefing, where we will discuss the European Ocean Pact together with the European Commissioner for Fisheries and Oceans, Costas Kadis. This initiative was released just recently in June, and it's setting up a new policy framework to govern the ocean, coastal areas, and our blue economy. I would add that it's also relevant because multiple EU priorities on sustainability, on security, on competitiveness converge to a considerable extent in the maritime areas, closely attached to the EU, but also within a broader global maritime context. So this is what we will be discussing today, the content of the Ocean Pact, its significance, its implications for the way forward. First, we will hear an introductory speech by Commissioner Kadis, followed by a short exchange, and I will be then happy to open the floor to the audience. So if you would like to pose a question, I invite you to start considering them already if possible. So without further ado, Commissioner, welcome to DPC, and I pass the floor over to you.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and thank you for the invitation. I am very happy to be here with you today to debrief you on the new European Ocean Pact and to also report back on some of the key achievements of the Third United Nations Ocean Conference, or UNOC 3, which took place in Nice 3 weeks ago. Both the European Ocean Pact and the UNOC 3 have created incredible momentum for ocean action within the EU, but also globally. And it will be our collective responsibility for politicians, civil society, scientists, industry, and also for the media to keep this momentum alive and make sure that the importance and potential of the ocean are duly factored in when designing and implementing policies. But allow me to go a step back to simple facts and figures and recall why we place so much emphasis on the ocean and why the ocean should matter to all of us, and especially here at the European Union. The ocean is more than 70% of Earth's surface. The ocean is 80% of global biodiversity. The ocean contributes to more than 50% of the oxygen produced on our planet. The ocean is 74% of the European Union's external trade done by maritime transport. The ocean is 99% of the global internet traffic by underwater cables. And finally, the ocean is 5 million jobs in the EU, with the blue economy contributing annually 250 million euro in gross value added to the European economy. The questions some of you may ask is why a European Union Pact now, at this specific moment? The ocean is facing ever-growing challenges, including pollution, climate change, and overexploitation of marine resources, which require urgent attention and action. At the same time, it offers immense potential for our competitiveness and our economy through more investments in a sustainable blue economy. It is also vital for our security. Over the years, the European Commission has introduced numerous policy initiatives relating to the ocean, covering areas such as fisheries and aquaculture, maritime transport, biodiversity protection, blue economy, and maritime security. However, policies were fragmented, and this has significantly reduced the impact of these individual initiatives. So the European Ocean Pact is therefore about ensuring coherence and coordination across policies so that our respective policies deliver coherently and at their best. The pact is structured in 6 fundamental pillars: protecting and restoring oceans' health, boosting the competitiveness of the EU sustainable blue economy, supporting coastal, island communities and outermost regions, advancing ocean research, knowledge, skills and innovation, enhancing maritime security and defense, and strengthening EU ocean diplomacy and international ocean governance. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, to be meaningful, the Ocean Pact should be implementable. And this is why we have put a strengthened governance framework at its heart, which will aim at reinforcing the way we all work together on the ocean. And one of its key features will be an Ocean Act to be delivered by 2027. The Ocean Act will build on a revision of the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive, a directive which coordinates different policies and in terms of locating their activities in the maritime space in a harmonized way. It will broaden the scope of this directive to ensure increased cross-sectoral coordination and will collect existing targets linked to the ocean under one single roof. It will therefore facilitate their coherent and effective implementation, while at the same time decreasing administrative burden. To support us in monitoring the implementation of the Pact, we also foresee the creation of a high-level ocean board and a dashboard to keep track of progress in a transparent way. This dashboard will be public, and make sure the promises of the Pact don't remain a piece of paper. All in all, the Ocean Pact is not a message in a bottle. The European Ocean Pact demonstrates how the European Union is also an ocean union. And this is what we also managed to reaffirm strongly at the 3rd United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice. Nice offered us a great opportunity to unify our efforts and present a cohesive and powerful voice on behalf of the European Union. We adopted a political declaration of voluntary commitments jointly called the Nice Ocean Action Plan. In terms of commitments, the European Union presented 57 new voluntary commitments covering a wide range of issues in many regions around the world. They are worth almost €1 billion, which demonstrates our determination to invest in the implementation of a stronger international ocean governance. So in Nice, we also confirm our firm commitment to advance the implementation of the 2030 agenda and to protect 30% of our land, waters, and seas by 2030. Finally, ahead and during the conference, the Commission actively promoted the swift ratification and implementation of the BBNJ agreement, the High Seas Treaty. And today, 50 states and the European Union have ratified it, including 14 EU member states. And we continue to urge the remaining member states to do their utmost to join this group as soon as possible. So, dear friends, the Ocean Pact and the Nice Ocean Action Plan are a call to action and responsibility. whether we will manage to keep the ocean as our ally in the fight against climate change, whether we will manage to secure its biodiversity and habitats as the wealth of our planet, and whether we will be able to rely on the ocean as an economic engine. This will depend on us all. Concluding, it is my belief that the implementation of the European Ocean Pact and building on the momentum developed during UNOC 3, we will make important steps to preserve our ocean as a shared heritage for generations to come. Thank you.
Much, Commissioner, for this overview of this initiative, which also when I was reading it and preparing was really impressed by a very, let's say, extensive and rich scope and the content that it covers. Lots of different initiatives on different agendas, as mentioned, as you also mentioned, on sustainability, on competitiveness, on the island question around islands, research, security, and there is quite a lot to uncover when it comes to the content and the measures that will then let's say follow from this after the release of this initiative. But also like to highlight what you mentioned, the importance of coherence, that there is a lot going on already, but of course content-wise it will still build on that, the pact, but importance of coherence and connecting these dots to ensure effective implementation, achievement of the objectives that we would like to achieve. I would be happy to come back to some of these topics, but just also you mentioned the UN, the discussions around the UN conference in Nice in June. And one thing I wanted to already to ask you, what we discuss very often, I think, within the EPC, but more broadly within the EU bubble, is how we live in different times now. How we witness, say, shrinking multilateralism and the rise of geopolitical rivalries, and how this is shaping multiple agendas and arguably affecting also the ocean agenda. I wanted to check with you to what extent this also affects the discussion around the Ocean Pact, the implementation of it when it comes to the EU, but more broadly to the contribution to the global maritime affairs. To what extent is this the case from your current work and experience?
I mean, indeed, we presented the European Ocean Pact as a model for sustainable management and preservation of our ocean, and it was one of the main contributions of the European Union to the UNOC 3. And I would say that the Ocean Pact was a catalyst towards creating this momentum for action in the framework of the United Nations Ocean Conference. We received a very positive feedback, not only by European countries, but also from international stakeholders and third countries. Let me just tell you that in the framework of the consultation, in the extensive consultation exercise that we carried out for the development of the Ocean Pact, we received a lot of feedback from outside Europe. And this shows how other parts of the planet are looking at us. And they were waiting to see what the European Union would propose as a sustainable governance model. And I feel that we satisfied the expectations with what we presented. As I mentioned, overall, the feedback was very positive. Of course, there were comments, there were even some criticism, but the overall feedback, I think it was quite positive.
Optimism, I would say, given that the EU was and arguably still a leader and a front runner on a number of agendas, but we often hear that this role is kind of diminished given the rise of other economic powerhouses, other actors, and the question to what extent is the EU's efforts are echoing across the globe still. So what you're saying still kind of is a glimpse of hope in the sense that the EU still continues to influence and shape different policies, in this case on maritime affairs and the oceans.
I feel that this was also the case in the UNOC 3. The European Union was presented, and it was actually a leading advocate for the ocean health and for the preservation and sustainable management of our ocean. And this was shown not only with the Ocean Pact, but also with other initiatives that the European Union presented during the United Nations Ocean Conference. I mean, the President of the European Commission announced 57 initiatives and with a total budget of close to 1 billion euros, contributed to the sustainable management of the ocean, not only in the European Union but internationally. We also had a very important role in promoting the BBNJ agreement. Just to mention that few weeks before the UNOC, only 3 or 4 member states had ratified the BBNJ agreement. Now we have 14 ratifications, and we are working for the ratification by other member states. So there we also contributed, and we created a momentum for the ratification of the agreement so that it enters into force. And I feel also with the overall presence of the European Union, with the stand there, the presentation of the European Ocean it was an impressive presentation of what we can achieve through investing in research and innovation in ocean-related issues, and this was evident at the stand of the European Union in the hall there in UNOC. So I feel that overall the European Union was presented and was a leading advocate for the sustainability of the ocean, not only in the European Union but also worldwide.
I would have, there are definitely a lot to unpack, and as much as we can cover by the end of this session, but I was happy to come back to some of the questions on the content, on different kinds of objectives and measures. But I would already like to ask if there are any questions already from the participants. Yes, I see one hand, two hands risen. Maybe we can start with the lady.
At the moment, I don't have a very good voice. Thank you very much for putting this together. Thank you, Commissioner, for giving us an overview. My name is Sheila Heymans from the European Marine Board. And my question is based on the last two things that you mentioned there, the multilateralism and the leadership of the European Commission with regards to the digital twin of the ocean. And my question is, I see in the documentation that there's a proposed ocean observing initiative, which really is very important if we want to have a digital twin that actually isn't just a computer model. So my question is really, how do we make sure that the data that we need, the observations we need for the data we need, is actually still feeding into that, especially given the sort of withdrawal of the US of science to some degree.
Mm-hmm. Take one more question and then we can answer.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Felix Dams. I work at the Matrania, the EAS Turkey East Med division. And thank you so much for this introduction and these comments. I was wondering, because in the text there is mentions of the Black Sea and the East Med. There is also aspects of diplomatic and security coordination and these kinds of things. And I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on those topics, specifically Black Sea and East Med, to see how the Ocean Pact might be able to coordinate action with that.
There was one more question I missed. Yes, we can take that one and then we will come back for seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Pier Paolo Piras from the Committee of the Region, the commission that works on natural resources. You met with our member Meta Iverson in Nice. I would like to have some further information about the ocean board that you mentioned. That is also part of the communication. How this will be structured and which kind of participation the Commission is willing to have on it, and then also because it is key for the preparation of the Ocean Act at the end. And linked to that, maybe in terms of sequencing of different legislative process, there are two key processes. One is the strategy on islands and another on outmost regions. And is it already possible to have some kind of indication in terms of calendar of those legislative process coming on? Thank you very much.
And yes, over to you, Commissioner. We have a couple of different questions and happy for you to address them as you would like.
Yeah, first, in general, we invest a lot on developing the ocean knowledge. I mean, one of the 6 pillars of the Ocean Pact is about developing the sound knowledge that will support the implementation of all ocean-related policies. And in this direction, we will carry out the initiative that you mentioned, the Ocean Observation Initiative, the aim of which will be to coordinate all ocean observation instruments that we have now, and that will fit in the European Ocean Twin. And our purpose is by 2030 to make this instrument fully utilized. And what the scientists said during the conference was really impressive. I mean, in real time, we will be able to monitor whatever is happening in our ocean. From environmental conditions to illegal fishing, to climate observations, everything. So yes, we need to invest on developing our knowledge on the ocean, and we need to have the proper instruments for that, and the Ocean Pact provides for an initiative in this direction. Regarding security again is a priority in the Ocean Pact, taking into consideration today's geopolitical context, and also given that in our ocean hosts invaluable infrastructure, which is indispensable, I would say, for the well-being of European citizens. Therefore, we need to protect this infrastructure. And there are initiatives in the Ocean Pact that serve this purpose. For example, there is an initiative to invest on an airborne drone fleet, which will monitor what is happening in the ocean, and it will be used for surveillance purposes. So this is one example of an initiative that is relevant to the security angle. And yes, we are already working towards coordinating our activities. I mean, several commissioners have already seen this topic, how the different services of the European Commission can cooperate in order to advance our security capabilities in different sea basins. The last question was about the ocean board. Yes, we feel that if we have high-level stakeholders from all groups that participated in the development of the Ocean Pact, this will support the implementation of the pact. You know, the development of the pact was carried out in a very inclusive way. And we find, and this is something for which we received really very positive comments. And we want to continue this in the implementation phase. So, yeah, we will have a representative from the local communities. We will have representatives from the NGOs. We will have representatives, of course, from the sector, from the fisheries and aquaculture sector. The main stakeholders will be represented in this ocean port. And as I mentioned before, for transparency reasons, we will launch an ocean dashboard where publicly we will monitor how we achieve the targets set in the Ocean Pact and how the 30 initiatives that are included in the Ocean Pact are implemented in the coming years.
Follow-up, I believe there was also a question on the strategy on islands, and if there are any tentative timeframes that you could already share.
Yes, if I'm not wrong, the time frame is for 2026. I mean, to be announced, this strategy to be announced. It is under the responsibility of Vice President Fido, who is responsible for the cohesion policy. And yeah, we will collaborate because as we mentioned earlier, all is about cooperation and collaboration and coordination of our activities in the Ocean Pact. So we will, all the commissioners that have responsibilities relevant to the sustainable development of our island and outermost communities will contribute to this strategy.
I would then like to actually to pose another question that is more content driven, and if you can maybe just expand a bit on what you said thus far, and that is the link between this initiative and the added value it provides when it's respect to climate action. So we have the 2030 targets. Now, as of recently, we have 2040 targets. So it's a new element, new topic to consider, and also the 2050 targets introduced already in the previous with the previous commission. So in that sense, how does the Ocean Pact actually, how does it contribute to reaching these objectives? What concrete measures, what you mentioned, or if there is anything on top of that or anything more to add, how does it actually feed into these efforts to reach climate neutrality and net zero, and also includes the climate mitigation adaptation? So how does it relate to climate?
Yeah. Overall, the Ocean Pact is based on the approaches of sustainability, and therefore definitely will contribute towards reaching the climate targets. And there are initiatives directly or indirectly serving this scope. For example, there is an initiative for an energy transition roadmap for the fisheries and aquaculture sector. It will be announced by the beginning of 2026, and it will describe how these sectors will become neutral by 2050. Will be, let's say, a roadmap, but also a strategy towards achieving neutrality in these sectors. And it will be developed again with the participation of the main stakeholders, fisheries and aquaculture sector, NGOs in the area, etc. Another initiative that it is included in the Ocean Pact and will serve this purpose is the blue carbon credits. We will develop a model in which we will calculate, how much carbon is absorbed by the creation of marine or maritime ecosystems. And this can contribute towards supporting local economies and local stakeholders. It will be a new sustainability, a new model serving the sustainable development of coastal and local communities. And definitely, it is one of the initiatives serving the climate neutrality. There are also other initiatives. For example, the support for the establishment of more marine protected areas and the effective management of these areas will also serve this purpose, but also it will serve the achievement of the goals of the nature restoration law, which is another important legislation. So overall, the pact will coordinate the activities of different policies in reaching the goals set by the main environmental policy strategies of the European Union.
That the climate aspects, the climate angle of this pact is separate, is siloed from others. It can also be closely intertwined. But going back to the digital twin and the importance of monitoring, that it can also help enforce some of the existing rules and the links between marine protection, biodiversity, and also its importance for climate. I would be happy to come back to some of this, especially when it comes to the maritime and biodiversity protection, nature restoration in this area. But then going back to our dear audience, if you are ready for the second round, I believe you are, so we can start with you.
Thank you very much for organizing it, and Commissioner for being here. My name is Tatiana Nuño. I'm working at Seas at Risk. My question is regarding marine protected areas. We welcome the Ocean Pact, but we note that it is still lack of concrete and robust language on how to ensure at least 30% of real protection in our EU waters. And we also know that harmful activities as bottom trawling is actually happening in marine protected areas, also due to the lack of enforcement and implementation of environmental regulation, in particular the Habitat Directive, because there is no impact assessment or management measures that are put in place. It's true that we see some good steps from some member states, as for example, Denmark today announced the decision of ban bottom trawling in 19% of their waters. Also, Sweden are like taking good step, and they announced about it during UNOC. But my question is, how does the Commission plan to address the enforcement of the regulation to ensure that harmful activities as bottom trawling is not happening anymore in MPAs, and that we actually achieve the 30% of the protection of our EU waters, including the 10% of strict protection we committed in our EU biodiversity strategy? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we can also hear from you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Yang Li, working for the Institute of China-Europe Studies, which is a Brussels-based think tank. So my question is about deep sea mining. Recently, the United States administration just gave a presidential order authorizing American companies to conduct mining activities in the international seabed area, which is considered to be common heritage of mankind. So, and this latest move has not only raised environmental concerns, but also put the international legal regime of ocean governance under challenges. So is there any, so what's your view on that? And is there any effective ways, both from the European Union side or the level of international community, to effectively prevent the international seabed area from being this kind of, how to say, negatively affected? Thank you.
I believe there were, we can take 2 more questions. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Elena Rodrigues from WWF. Thank you so much for your remarks. I guess my question is on the land-sea interaction, because we know that the majority of marine pollution actually comes from land sources. So I was wondering, also picking on the point of collaboration that you mentioned, how can we address agricultural runoffs and other causes of eutrophication? Thank you.
And thank you. Thanks very much, Commissioner, for the really interesting presentation. My name is Matthew Robson from the UK mission to the EU. And my question relates to how the EU envisages cooperating with third countries on implementing the objectives of the Ocean Pact, and in particular, third countries that are very geographically proximate and which share lots of waters with the EU, such as the UK.
Thanks. And yeah, I was about to ask some of these questions, especially on nature and environment and the linkage with the Ocean Pact. But yeah, the audience helped me with this already. So yeah, on marine protection, especially bottom trawling, on deep sea mining, collaboration with the third countries on the ocean agenda, and the land-sea interaction between, when it comes to different also environmental impacts and so forth. Anything you can shed more light on?
We feel that we with the Ocean Pact, we will contribute towards reaching the target set by the biodiversity strategy for preserving at least 30% of our ocean. And also, we will support the implementation of the nature restoration law. We expect that by 2026, August 2026, the member states will submit their plans on how they will achieve the legally binding targets for protecting certain part of their terrestrial and marine environment by 2030, 2040, and 2050. And we will support the member states in achieving these goals. For marine protected areas, what we say is what it is in our legislation. For example, the Habitats and Birds Directives and the Nature Restoration Law. According to these directives, for each protected area, a management plan should be developed based on sound scientific evidence. And this management plan should describe how each protected area should be managed in order to preserve the targeted species and habitat types, and which activities, economic activities, can or cannot take place. And I cannot imagine a marine protected area where the protected the protected habitat type is the sea bottom, to allow bottom trawling. It's clear. Therefore, we respect the scientific the science-based decision-making process, and we feel that in this way we will effectively protect our marine environment. Regarding deep sea mining, the European Commission was very clear during UNOC. We are in favor of the precautionary approach, and we try to establish alliances towards promoting this approach. We regret that the new United States administration has changed their approach. I mean, they changed their approach, but we will still try to join forces to create alliances with other countries in order to promote this this approach, and we will see what measures can be taken towards this direction. There are discussions for certain measures, but I cannot now preempt what these discussions will bring us as a tangible result. The next one was about
on the land-sea interaction.
Yes. It is clear that in the Ocean Pact we follow the source-to-sea approach and the ecosystem-based approach, and this will be clear in all the initiatives that are that will be implemented under the Ocean Pact. So it is clear that we follow the source-to-sea approach, and indicative to that is the organization in September of a ministerial conference for reviewing the situation in the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea is a very clear example on where environmental degradation can leads, and the adverse impacts of environmental degradation. And there we will invite not only the fisheries ministers or the environment ministers, we will also invite the agriculture ministers, because part of the problem comes from the nutrients that derive from the agricultural land. And we have seen there eutrophication, we have seen marine pollution, which is attributed to what is happening in the land. So this approach, the source-to-sea approach, will be adapted in all our initiatives.
I also ask, you mentioned the nutrients, but also the Ocean Pact also mentions goes back to the plastics agenda, and what any
well, in the United Nations Ocean Conference, we were among the advocates for the plastic, an ambitious plastic treaty. We are not there yet, but we are still trying again to create the alliances to find third countries to leverage, let's say, our positions. Personally, I had a meeting with the WTO Director General in order to promote this agreement, and they are trying also very much. So, as in all cases, the European Union is a leading advocate. We will continue to be like this and promote sustainability practices. The ambitious plastic treaty is a clear example of our activities.
And also going back to the deep sea mining and what you also mentioned about the recent developments also when it comes to the US role, it in a way does reflect the fact that we do live in a different world, or that it is changing also in front of our eyes, and that of course we need multiple actors to join this dance if we can ensure sustainable and say successful management of the ocean maritime areas, but in a way, I guess, highlighting these complexities that we are now facing, but also going back to what you were saying about the importance of strengthening alliances with different actors, international alliances and regional alliances, to the extent possible. And also then going back, I think one of the questions was then how, whatever you can share, if possible, anything on what the Ocean Pact and any further measures would entail in terms of the specific collaboration, for example, in the regional scope and with the EU-UK, if there is anything that we can already consider or be aware of moving on and trying to, I guess, work together to address, say, different maritime-related affairs.
Yes. With partners that we share common values, and they are like-minded partners like the UK. I think that the new geopolitical context and developments have bring the European Union closer to this kind of partners, like the UK, Norway, Iceland, and other countries. So with these countries, yes, we try to develop synergies. Personally, I met with ministers of these countries during UNOC, and I presented actually the Ocean Pact as a model of sustainable governance of the ocean, and I found that they were very much interested in the approach that the European Union proposes. Yes, we need to develop synergies with these countries. We need to develop synergies, and we will work closely with them in this direction.
Thank you for this response, Commissioner. Looking at the time, I think we will have to slowly wrap up for today. I would just have one more question in the way you answer with some of the initiatives listed, but just to kind of to try to get the full picture. This is a very, let's say, ambitious and initiative that indeed combines different kinds of sectors and areas, and including also different actors. And you mentioned the Oceans Board and different kinds of initiatives, and also data gathering exercises. But I'm just trying to imagine you have the fishermen and women, you have the army, you have the energy operators, the port authorities, the marine protection activists, different kinds of governance, different kinds of stakeholders, the businesses, and they all interact, and they all depend on each other to some extent, or at least we need to ensure that they act in a consistent way so that they don't to avoid saying different kinds of negative side effects of their actions. So anything you would like to add on this, just going back to the importance of coherence, and but in more, let's say, actionable way, how can we think about this kind of coordinated approach where different actors know what the others are doing and coordinating their activities effectively?
You have just described why the European Ocean Pact is so important. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we had my first implementation dialogue. It was on the Maritime Special Planning Directive. I see some of the participants here were present yesterday. And one of the participants calculated how much maritime space we need for each one of the different, to achieve each one of the different targets from different policies. And the overall, he calculated that for his country, the maritime space was not physically enough to satisfy the needs of the different policies, the different European policies. And this shows the need for coordination, the need for coherence, the need to for our policies to be harmonized and to know each other what we are doing, and coordinate our activities. So this is the core of the Ocean Pact, to coordinate and to bring together, to promote collaboration, to promote synergies, to speak to each other and understand each other. And I feel that this is the only way forward. And it is actually the Ocean Pact, a platform where fishers, NGOs, policymakers, representatives of the regions of the member states came together, and all of them are positive towards what we're doing, more or less positive to what we are trying to do. And this is, I think, indicative of that all the stakeholders see the need for more coherence and more coordination in our policies.
Other note of optimism that we sometimes need given the times we live in, that it is not something that is just, let's say, coming from Brussels, but also the different actors recognize, you said, the need, but arguably the necessity to work together, given what you just said, indeed, that the resources that the ocean offers simply are not sufficient to just meet all the policy objectives and agenda on their individually. At least it's important to explore these synergies, to define these goals and arrangements in a way that, and to implement them so that we can achieve them together rather than in silos, because it's not just about effectiveness, about whether we can achieve all these different policy objectives. So yeah, on that note, I think I would really like to ask if you would like to add anything for the end, any key message.
The key message is that now we are focusing on the implementation of what is in the Ocean Pact. The Ocean Pact was developed with the contribution of all stakeholders. I mean, all main stakeholders. I feel that they can see somewhere on the text of in the text of the Ocean Pact their positions. So it is a collective effort. Now we need to focus on implementing what is in the Ocean Pact. And I feel that by implementing what is in the Ocean Pact, we will contribute to the sustainable management and preservation of the ocean. And we will make what we owe to our children and to the next generations.
Commissioner, and indeed for shedding a bit more light about this initiative, about its importance, what it entails. Of course, as much as we could cover, it was, I would say, a short but sweet exchange we had in the discussion we had with our very active audience. I would like to thank you for your contribution, and to thank you, Commissioner, for being here with us, and indeed for discussing this very important initiative. I think there is, because our events are multi-stakeholder by default, I think there is a little bit for everyone when it comes to the Ocean Pact and what we discuss, and there will be multiple initiatives we can then expect in the coming years, like the Ocean Act you mentioned, but many others, not to list them, of course. We don't have the time, but just saying that we will, of course, be happy to continue following this agenda, how it develops. Because I think it's very important for, again, multiple agendas: sustainability, competitiveness, security. Let's see what the future will hold. Thank you. Once again, Commissioner, thank you very much, everybody.